Abrams. Detective Abrams is a tough, no-nonsense investigator who's been solving cases in New York for years. Everything from stolen art to missing persons to ritual murders. He didn't just take cases, he closed them. But his routine changed the day he found the tome sitting on his desk. There was no explanation, just a note written in dark blood that said, "Don't let them have it." Since then, his life's been chaos. His home's been broken into, his office ransacked 3 times, and his car firebombed. Abrams doesn't know where the tome came from, but he's determined to get to the bottom of it. Abrams has the bulk and sustain to lead from the front, often running into the middle of his foes and watching them scatter. If his enemies waste their fire on him, his backline teammates can lay out damage with impunity. Okay, now I have a challenge just for you. Only 5% of people can find the odd one out before the timer runs out. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Comment done if you managed to do it on time. Bebop. Bebop wasn't just a scrap metal golem. He was the son Miss Shelley, a widowed junkyard worker, could never have. They spent their days working in the iron yard and their nights listening to jazz. It was a simple, comforting life. But now, Miss Shelley is sick, and Bebop is doing whatever it takes to pay for her medicine. She wouldn't approve of his nightly activities, but as far as Bebop's concerned, what she doesn't know won't hurt her. Bebop can string together his abilities in many different ways, disrupting enemy positions, saving an ally, or dealing bursts of damage. When the situation doesn't require subtlety, his giant laser still solves many problems. Calico. Calico used to be a proud member of the Baxter Society, hunting monsters for the greater good. But when she realized killing monsters didn't pay, she switched to a more profitable business, taking out people for money. Now a high-demand contract killer, Calico is thriving by ending others. Her critics, and even her friends, might call her amoral, but she does have principles. No matter how cold and calculated they are, Calico uses the shadows to her advantage, weaving in and out of combat to hunt down her enemies one by one. Dynamo. Professor Dynamo was always a curious scientist, so when a rift in space-time appeared in Central Park, he rushed to investigate. He expected the experience to be life-changing in a figurative sense, not to have his body atomized and turned into a tiny dying star. Though his physical form is gone, his spirit and thirst for knowledge remain. Now a tenured professor at Columbia College, Dynamo juggles studying his strange condition with teaching, determined to inspire the next generation of brilliant minds. Dynamo keeps himself and his allies healthy while waiting for his moment. Few things can warp a team fight more than a well-coordinated use of singularity. Grey Talon. Wesley Grey Talon, a founding member of the Baxter Society, spent nearly 40 years hunting monsters before deciding to retire and reconnect with his family. He had missed much of his son's life, and with grandchildren now in the picture, Wesley was determined to make up for lost time. Retirement brought peace. He bonded with his wife, doted on his grandkids, and hosted family dinners every Wednesday. Life was finally good. Then came the call. His son's house had burned down, with no survivors. Authorities called it a freak accident, but Wesley knew better. His daughter-in-law, an Ixian, could extinguish flames effortlessly. If they died in the fire, it wasn't an accident. Picking up his bow once more, Wesley is back on the hunt, and this time, it's personal. Whoever did this will face his wrath. A cunning predator, Grey Talon uses a combination of deadly accuracy, traps, and clever positioning to bring down the toughest of opponents. Haze. The Occult Security and Investigation Commission, OSIC, is a secretive government agency, even more shadowy than the CIA. Its job is to protect the country from supernatural threats that regular law enforcement can't handle. Haze, part of the infamous Sandman Division, specializes in entering the dreams of targets to evaluate their danger and, if necessary, ensure they never wake up. When Haze fixates on a target, she can hold her own in a firefight. She prefers to create one-sided exchanges, avoiding damage then picking off unsuspecting targets up close. Holliday. Holliday never dreamed of moving to New York. She was perfectly happy as a small-town sheriff, where the toughest action she saw was trick shooting at the county fair. But that changed when the murders began. Victims were found with their rib cages torn open. Holliday tracked the killer, a folk musician the press called the Troubadour, only to watch him explode into a swarm of crows and escape. That was 6 months ago. The killings in Illinois may have stopped, but Holliday's hunt hasn't. She's certain the Troubadour is headed for New York, and when she finds him, she plans to put him down for good. Holliday depends on her skills as a crack shot, shooting things she's bounced into the air. With good aim, she can lay out heavy damage. Her movement skills let her isolate her enemies or beat a hasty retreat. Infernus. Like most teens, Infernus was wild, rebellious, and impulsive. Unlike most teens, he came from another plane and had control over fire, which led to plenty of arson, mayhem, and cover-ups. But that was a long time ago. Now an adult, Infernus has settled down. He's content working at a bar with great live music and meeting interesting people. Still, if someone causes trouble, he's not above using the skills he perfected in his wilder days. Infernus has many ways to deal damage over time, burning foes before swooping in for the kill. Due to Infernus' blazing speed, his enemies won't be able to escape the flames. Ivy. The gargoyle had no idea what was happening when it suddenly sprang to life. Only that a big human and a small human were in danger. Instinctively, it leapt to their defense, scaring off the attackers. The small human thanked the gargoyle and asked its name, but it didn't have one. Seeing the ivy covering the creature, the child said, "I'll call you Ivy." Though it found the name a bit obvious, the gargoyle accepted it. The humans, family Arroyos, invited Ivy home in gratitude. That night, Ivy learned much. The little one was named Sophia. Mofongo was a delicious dish, and the attackers were from the Mendoza Syndicate, a group hurting good people like the Arroyos. For 18 years, Ivy made it her mission to dismantle the Mendoza Syndicate and free Spanish Harlem from its grip. Now, with that goal achieved, Ivy finds herself unsure of what to do next. For the first time, she's ready to explore the world beyond Spanish Harlem and see what it holds beyond vigilante justice. Ivy has disruptive combat tricks that slow and stun enemies. She's most effective when linking up with an ally, empowering her and her allies' guns as well as sharing heals. Kelvin. Kelvin was a renowned scientist and adventurer who dedicated his life to unraveling the unknown. So, when rumors spread about an 8th astral gate hidden in the Arctic, he organized an expedition with the brightest minds of his time. The mission began with great excitement, but ended in tragedy. They never returned. A year and a half later, Kelvin's frozen body was discovered by a fishing crew, clutching a glowing rune-covered rock. As they chipped away at the ice, they were stunned when Kelvin opened his eyes. He had no pulse, no blood in his wounds, but somehow, he was alive. Now, with no memory of the expedition or what happened to his team, Kelvin is determined to uncover the truth. Timely heals and splitting a team fight properly is the difference between an easy victory or a ruinous defeat. Gliding around slowing enemies gives Kelvin's team the maneuvering advantage to make this happen. Lady Geist. Lady John Geist was once the darling of high society, but as her beauty faded, so did her place among the elite. Eventually, she became a frail woman in a nursing home, clinging to memories of her glory days. That's when Oathkeeper appeared, a powerful spirit from another plane. He offered to restore her youth, but at a cost. She would need to drain the essence of the living to sustain herself. Torn between morality and the temptation of a second chance, Geist made a risky choice. She accepted the pact but used her skills to bind and ward Oathkeeper, ensuring she could feed him on her terms, not his. Decades have passed, and while she's enjoyed her restored youth, the wards are weakening. Now, Oathkeeper's hunger grows stronger, and Geist faces the looming danger of losing control. Expending health to achieve devastating effects is the source of Lady Geist's power. When running low, she can drain the life out of her rivals. Lash. Jacob Lash is a notorious champion of the Bear Pit, a brutal underground arena where spectators bet on bloody matches. He's a rival to Bebop, another well-known pit fighter. Lash's background hints at a sailor's life, but not the usual kind. With his anchor tattoo surrounded by a cloud-like symbol and his sky-themed ornaments, he's more likely an aeronaut, a sailor of the skies. Some, like Mo and Krill, call him a stevedore, implying he might have worked unloading cargo or as a smuggler. Whatever his past, Lash's reputation in the pit and his abrasive personality make him infamous. Lash gives his enemies little room to breathe, either by flying in from long distances to initiate combat with unsuspecting enemies, or pursuing said enemies when they try to run. McGinnis. Maggie McGinnis has always had a talent for building things. At 4, she used Lincoln logs to recreate famous buildings. By 10, she was rewiring custom light fixtures for her parents. At 15, she built a machine to refine souls of the dead, an invention that drew more attention than her childhood projects. Now leading military R&D at Fairfax Industries, Maggie prefers the hands-on work of a machine shop over theoretical labs. For her, science isn't about ideas. It's tangible magic you can hold in your hands. Precise placement is everything for McGinnis. Whether she's creating a kill zone or splitting the enemy team, she can help keep her team running, making them hard to dislodge when entrenched. Mirage. The Jinn are a fascinating group with immense power, but a unique limitation. They can't stay in physical form for more than 48 minutes without resting within a vessel. Because of this, they rely on human bodyguards for transport, protection, and companionship. Mirage is one such bodyguard, working for Jinn Ambassador Nashala Dion. Together, they're in New York on a diplomatic mission, hoping to negotiate with the US government for a section of Wyoming to establish a sovereign nation for the Jinn. Mirage can envelop himself in a violent tornado to catch up to enemies and lift them up. His scarabs help him sustain against multiple enemies, and he's always ready to help an ally or punish an enemy anywhere. Mo and Krill. Mo and Krill are key members of the Tunnel Rats, a group that keeps illegal trade flowing between New York's boroughs through a hidden network of underground tunnels. Most in the city's underworld respect their operation, but occasionally, a gang tries to abuse the tunnels for their own schemes. That's when Mo and Krill step in, delivering a harsh lesson to anyone who disrespects their territory. By burrowing through the ground, Mo and Krill can get the drop on almost anyone. And once they get in close, the results can be devastating. Paradox. Paradox is both an ancient artifact of time and the name of a legendary thieves guild. Known for their intricate heists, they target the untouchable, stealing priceless artifacts, state secrets, and even celebrity paternity tests. But they don't hoard their spoils. Instead, Paradox showcases them in pop-up museums to prove no one is beyond their reach. Each member, masked and anonymous, adopts the name Paradox, making them impossible to track. They are everywhere and nowhere, and when they set their sights on something, they always get it. Manipulating time lets Paradox outpace an enemy in one-on-one combat. She thrives by subjecting her enemies to timely swaps into a waiting pulse grenade, her wall, or into the middle of her teammates. Pocket. Aaron Fairfax, eldest heir to Fairfax Industries, has been in hiding for 5 years after being shot and left for dead on their 18th birthday. Unsure who's behind the attempt to keep them from inheriting the company, Aaron knows it could be anyone in the ruthless world of Fairfax Industries. Now going by the name Pocket, Aaron is determined to keep their true identity secret, not just for safety, but to carve out a life and identity separate from their family legacy. With a powerful shotgun and a thin frame, Pocket relies on their ability to briefly escape into a mystic suitcase and teleport via a flying cloak in order to survive close encounters. 7. When mystic energy awoke on Earth, the government created laws to control it, ensuring safety for its citizens. But laws didn't apply to people like Seven. Rumors surrounded his imprisonment in Lost Whisper, a prison for the most dangerous occultists. On the night of his execution, the strongest wards from 7 nations failed. Witnesses watched in terror as his captors were destroyed. One's head exploded, another turned to ash. 7, writhing in eldritch energy, broke free, massacred everyone, and escaped. As he tasted freedom, he laughed, already planning his next move in New York City. 7 thrives in a skirmish waiting for the time to strike. Then he rolls into the fight like a storm and batters his enemies with a cascade of lightning. Shiv. Shiv, a loyal member of the International Monster Hunting Order, the Baxter Society, roams North America, taking down creatures that prey on humans. His rough demeanor and criminal past make some of the more traditional members uneasy, but no one questions his results. Interestingly, unused game files reveal an alternate model, hinting at a scrapped ultimate ability that involved a giant mole transformation. Shiv has zero interest in playing fair, which is why he relies on hit-and-run tactics to weaken enemies before he dives in for the kill. Sinclair. Henry's parents forbade him from practicing real magic, and so they gave him a deck of cards to play with, so he turned to sleight of hand. He met Savannah in high school, and they fell in love and created a stage magic act together. They were so in love that they had a blood mystic bind their souls together for eternity. However, an on-stage accident claimed both of their lives. Now, as bickering ghosts, they must work together to undo their eternal union. With the help of their unwilling assistant, the magnificent Sinclair can confuse enemies with curving hexes and rapid bolts. Vindicta. Vindicta, a victim of the Salem witch trials, was resurrected during the Maelstrom, a cataclysmic event that unveiled the supernatural to the world. Now, she faces off against the Friends of Humanity, a modern-day inquisition led by the descendants of her persecutor, John Hathorne. Vindicta, a fierce protector of the supernatural, employs ruthless tactics to defend her kind from the threats posed by this dangerous organization. Vindicta has the mobility to engage at her leisure, picking at her prey and bleeding them out slowly. Injured enemies at any distance should fear being picked off when she is on the map. Viscous. The Bermuda Triangle, once a mysterious legend, is actually a gateway to other dimensions. While most creatures emerging from this portal have been benign, a terrifying predator now lurks in the deep. Ocean creatures are terrified as this monster hunts. Viscous, a psychic sea anemone, refuses to stand by. Using its psychic powers, it creates an ethereal body to reach the surface world. Desperate, Viscous seeks out the ancient and powerful patrons for help in protecting the deep sea from this lurking horror. Viscous vexes his opponents through clever evasion and strategic uses of healing, enabling him to withstand the most brutal of enemy attacks. Vyper. Vyper, a seasoned criminal, understands that evading capture is crucial in her line of work. Unfortunately, she's not exactly known for her subtlety. However, Vyper possesses a unique talent: escaping from prison. Having served time in virtually every major penitentiary in the region, she's cultivated a vast network of contacts among the criminal underworld. These connections, while sometimes fraught with danger, many would gladly see her eliminated, are invaluable for her survival and continued operations. With a powerful weapon and deadly venom to match, Vyper can slither into the back of teams and assassinate high-priority targets in a storm of bullets. Warden. Most people think the supernatural appeared 50 years ago, but it's been shaping folklore for centuries. And where there's fear of the unknown, there are those who fight against it. Warden comes from a family of militant alchemists, once dedicated to preventing a mystical apocalypse. Over time, their warnings became little more than family legends, until the portal in Central Park proved it was all real. Realizing their mistake, Warden's parents trained them from birth to be a supernatural weapon, determined to stop the patrons from ever crossing into our world. Warden leads from the front, jumping into the fray and hindering his opponent's ability to fight effectively. But what Warden considers brave, others consider reckless. And if he's not careful, he can easily find himself in over his head. Wraith. Wraith runs the heart of New York's gambling scene, an open secret protected by bribes, threats, and blackmail. She operates above the law, untouchable by design. Her hands are always in her pockets, while her two magical arms quietly handle everything. Wraith's real focus is finding her father, hinted at by the phrase, Sapphire Flames.
I can help you find your father. Summon me.
Excelling at one-on-one combat, Wraith isolates targets, eliminating them with ruthless efficiency, then teleporting away before anyone can retaliate. Yamato. Kaori and her brother Yamato were destined to inherit their father's crime syndicate, Seventh Moon. Together, they ran it successfully, with plans to expand into the US. Kaori stayed in Japan, while Yamato prepared to establish a base abroad. But rebellion erupted when subordinates opposed Kaori's leadership. In the chaos, Yamato sacrificed himself to help her escape to America with a small group of loyalists. There, a contact mistook Kaori for Yamato. Instead of correcting him, she embraced her brother's name and vowed to fulfill his dream of expansion. Yamato uses precise strikes to decimate her rivals. However, such damaging attacks often will leave her exposed, so she needs to make every shot count.
Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.